Now, I want to go back to that first thing I mentioned, the bashing alleged of that couple by someone allegedly released from immigration detention by the government. To immigration, the opposition's immigration spokesman, Dan Tehan. Dan Tehan, thank you so much for joining me. What does this alleged attack tell us?
Well, it tells us that the government continues to fail when it comes to this issue. They've failed from day one to have their number one priority, keeping the Australian community safe. And this alleged incident now is sadly what we predicted, because Andrew Giles and Clare have fumbled their way through this issue like we've never seen two ministers fumble an issue, I think, in our history. And sadly now we have this alleged beating of this lady in Perth, just recovering from cancer. And people will look at the pictures and I'm sure will say to themselves, that could be my mother, that could be my auntie, that could be my grandmother. And Anthony Albanese has to explain how this has happened, and he has to ask his ministers, have you in any way done anything which has led to such an incident happening? And if so, those two ministers should be asked to resign, because it seems like the failures just mount and mount when it comes to this issue.
Well, Dan Tehan, immediately I was thinking, I played part of a press conference that Andrew Giles gave where he assured the Australian public he was doing all sorts of things like ankle bracelets, curfews, monitoring and all that to keep the Australian public safe. What sort of monitoring of the detainees is going on if it takes 2 weeks to find this alleged attacker and arrest him?
Well, that's a very good question, Andrew, and it's one that we continue to ask the government, and their lack of transparency on this issue has been there for all to see from day one. They said that they would issue on a monthly basis reports of how many of the 152 hardened criminals were wearing ankle bracelets, what monitoring was taking place, how many of them had broken their curfews. And with this, sadly, we know now in February, he broke his curfews, he was taken to court, and the Commonwealth did not oppose bail. Now, Andrew Giles needs to come out and explain why they didn't oppose bail for the repeated curfew offences. Right throughout this, they have not had as their number one priority keeping the Australian community safe.
Well, as of 7 p.m, when I started this show, I hadn't seen a word from Andrew Giles, not a single word in response. What would you do differently?
Well, to start with, when it came to the statement of facts before the High Court heard the issue which led to the release of all these detainees, I would not have agreed that there was no possibility of removing the detainees from the country. That is where this all went wrong. And that dates back to May last year. Since then, the government has not acted in any way to have as their fundamental priority to keep the Australian community safe. For instance, there could have been a preventative detention order put in place once this alleged detainee who's allegedly committed this crime, once he had failed his curfew. Why not put a preventative detention order in place? Why not insist that the ankle bracelets are worn and monitored the whole time? And why not be upfront with the Australian people about what you're doing? There are so many things that we would have done differently, which sadly wouldn't lead us to where we are now.
Do you think this woman would have a case for compensation from the government?
Well, look, judging by the photos, judging by the alleged crime, then perhaps she does. I mean, I just feel so sorry for her. The interview after the alleged attack took place, she said, you know, I worry and I'm deeply concerned that this has changed me. Now, you know, where is Andrew Giles? Where is Clare O'Neill? Are they, if this allegation is proved true, are they going to come out? Are they going to apologise to the lady? Are they going to do the honourable thing and resign? I bet you, Andrew, sadly, that they don't front the media tomorrow. I bet you that they won't front the media tomorrow. It'll be very interesting.
That would be outrageous. That would be outrageous, but I'm afraid it would probably be also on brand. Dan Tehan, thank you so much indeed for your time.